Hey guys, Scottish Warrior 82 here. Sorry about the misdemeanor. At the end of my last video, some friggin' nutjob and a clown broke into the house. He's running something like a crazy fucking clown mask. He got a couple of good shots in, I got a couple in myself. And he won't be back anytime soon. Okay, that hurts. I got a friggin' downloaded the Metagel app. Yeah. Man, Metagel works wonders. Hey everyone, Scottish Warrior 82 here. Camino does not cure everything. Ow. But welcome to another WION review. And this WION review, I'm going to be reviewing the Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. This review is long overdue because of one simple reason: this is a long ass game. I'll say that right now. This game will clock in at 30 to 40 hours. That's how long it took me to beat this game. In this review, I'm basically just going to tell you whether or not this is worth the money or not. Whether or not you should waste your money on this, or is it well worth the purchase. So, let me get started with just explaining what I liked about the game, and then I'll go into what I didn't like about the game. So, yeah, let's get started. Well, what I liked about the game was the lore. That was my favourite part of the game. The universe that the Kingdom of Amalur Reckoning is set in is written by best-selling author and novelist R.A. Salvatore, and the universe is amazing. The lore I absolutely love. It's brilliantly done. He didn't write the story, he only wrote the universe, and it is an absolute beautiful universe and lore. It was very interesting to learn about the different races that were there, the battle between immortals and mortals, and the whole premise of the world of Amalur is that basically everyone has a fate, and that does not change. You have a set fate and it will never change. If you're a mortal, you are destined to die at one point. If you're immortal, you will die and then you're reborn again, basically. Everyone has a fate, whether you're stuck in the same life for the rest of your life, or you'll be an adventurer or a hero, completely set. And I like that idea. The whole range of it is absolutely brilliant. I love the lore in the universe. It's very well done and rich for expansion. I'll say that right now. An absolutely rich environment of lore. I spent the majority of my time playing this game looking for the lore stones, which gave you little stories and all that, which I absolutely loved. It was brilliantly done. And in my opinion, it is truly an exceptional one, and I loved it. It was brilliantly done. The art style, even though a lot of people have a gripe with it, I actually enjoyed it. It fit the universe quite well. But there were some issues I did have with like certain characters and all that. But overall, the art style was very well done, and some of the scenery was absolutely breathtaking and beautifully rendered. What else do I like? The races, as I said, even the lore in the universe is brilliant, but I love the races. I love the Fae, the gnomes, the humans, the different enemies that you can come across. Some of the faction quests as well I really did enjoy. I don't think there's not much else I can say that I enjoyed. I did enjoy the combat system. The combat system, in my opinion, is brilliantly done. It's simple, but the right kind of simple that you're going to have fun playing it, in my opinion. And it was enjoyable. You get a main weapon and a secondary weapon. Depending on the style that you want to go. Do you want to be a brawler? Do you want to be a sorcerer? Do you want to be a rogue? That will all depend on what weapons you use, but you can use any weapon you want at any time in the game, which is quite good, so you can chop and change. But the thing is though, this game actually rewards you for experimentation, because you can actually mix the classes. I played through as a sorcerer rogue, so my weapons of choice were Feyblades and magic infused chakrams, which were basically Xena weapons. Her little disc that she throws, that's called a chakram. And that is how I played it, but you could also go through, like, you could be a might sorcerer or a finesse might, or you could be a whole range of things, and the game actually rewards you by giving you different fate cards due to the fact that your character who you play has no fate, and that is really interesting to me because you can decide how you want to play the game. And at any time in the game you can actually go to a fate weaver, who is actually someone who can give you cards and stuff like that. It's kind of complicated in some senses, but very simplistic. There's some of them. And what it does is that you go to a fate weaver, you pay them some gold, but trust me, by the end of the game you'll be a millionaire. The amount of gold you fucking find is unbelievable, and you can get all of your level ups taken back, but you'll still and get all the experience that you've spent and spend it on different things. Like if you played through the entire game as a rogue but you wanted to try some of the night stuff, you could just go to a fate weaver, pay some gold, get all of your stats removed and put them into something different. So that is quite interesting. I did like that. I personally didn't do that because I was quite happy with magic and rogue as well, because that was my personal favourite, and that was the combat. Really appreciated that and added to it with the magic, the Fey blades, the daggers, all the weapons that have is unbelievable, and some of them do dish out quite a bit of damage. I also enjoyed the crafting system in the game, especially blacksmithing. That's the one that I concentrated the most on. If you get a maxed out blacksmithing, you can actually make some pretty damn awesome weapons, and you get to name them as well, so that's also a lot of things. So it's quite unique in that part. You can name the weapon whatever you want. Like you could, and end up naming the chakrams that I made, which were freaking brutal, by the way. I ended up calling them Xena's Flaming Blades or something else, I can't remember. You also get to create your own. That's what I really do. Like you can create your own armor, Fey blades. Basically, if you can wield it or wear it, you can basically salvage it if you're a high enough level in blacksmithing and create something that is 10 times better, which is absolutely a major plus for me. There is also alchemy and sagecraft, which are crystals that you can put into armor slots and utility slots that your armors or your weapons will have, which will give them added bonuses. But I didn't really spend too much time on that. I mostly concentrated on blacksmithing because, well, I wanted some kick-ass weapons, I'll say that right now. And it was quite interesting to do that, so it gets a major plus on that. That's basically the good points that I liked about the game. But I'm actually going to also talk about the bad points that I didn't like about the game, which is going to actually, I'm not too sure if this is going to be right for a lot of people, but I'm going to get the big one out of the way. In my opinion, this game could have used another month or two in development. I feel that possibly, I'm not too sure one of the three here did, whether it was Big Huge or 388 Studios, or even possibly the publisher EA, which is probably more than likely, kind of rushed this release, because I personally think this game could use another month or two in development for one simple reason. There are a shit ton of glitches in this game. There are graphical and texture pop glitches. Throughout the game I'm constantly seeing textures that don't load properly, that constantly intertwine, and then you go one place, then you go another, the textures are not in right, the scenery is still loading in, and it really takes away from the experience. Sometimes the character models don't come in. Sometimes the character models are invisible for at least 10 seconds while you're talking to them before they show up, which is a major problem for me. There are a lot of these. You will end up experiencing a shit ton of these graphical glitches. Now, I played Mass Effect 1, and anyone who's played Mass Effect 1 knows that you can deal with graphical glitches if the story is good. I'll get to the story in a minute, but I want to talk about the other glitches that were in the game. I came across numerous audio glitches, characters' voices, mouse moving but nothing coming out, or no voice whatsoever coming out. The subtitles were unsynced in some cases. There were major freaking glitches with audio when you smashed objects. Sometimes the audio wouldn't come in for another 4 seconds after the object was smashed. And even though it's a minor thing, it did kind of take away the experience from me, and did get really annoying after a while, which I know I'm nitpicking, but I nitpick, I can't help it. So combine the graphical glitches with the audio glitches, and it does take away from the experience, just for me personally anyway. Not to say that it would take away experience for a lot of people, some people can overlook that. Another kind of problem, I did come across one game-breaking glitch that almost, I was able to salvage it, almost cost me to actually restart the whole game. I got locked in place and I could not move. I tried reloading it, all saved where I locked in place, and I could not move whatsoever. I had to go into my hard drive on the Xbox and delete the autosave so I could load back. It isn't a major problem. The autosave system does help a bit, but it was kind of a game-breaking bug. If you didn't know how to fix it, you probably would have had to start the whole game over again if you don't save frequently. And that's what I have to say to everyone. If you're going to play Kingdoms of Amalur, save frequently. Before you go in a dungeon, after you get in the dungeon, before a boss battle, before a major encounter, save frequently. That's the thing I can say. Because trust me, there are numerous glitches, and I did come across, as I say, one game-breaking glitch that almost cost me to restart the game. So save frequently in the game, it's a major thing I have to say. And here comes the problem I have the most with this game. The main story. Now, before I get to the main story, I'll say this right now. Some of the faction quests in this, the Travellers, the Warmongers, the House of Sorrows, the House of Ballads, have some really interesting stories to them. They are quite interesting. My favourite one is the Travellers and the House of Ballads. Those are my two favourite ones because they were a bit interesting, even though the missions were very repetitive for all three of them. Go, for example, the House of Ballads mission, there are basically 3 or 4 missions if memory serves me, and all of them are the exact same thing. Go here, kill this, come back. 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 Even though it was repetitive, there was an interesting story and an interesting twist depending on how you played it. The Traveller one was really interesting, but even though it did equate it to the same thing, go steal 3 things, come back, give me it, here's another mission, go back, steal 3 things, come back and get that. It was very repetitive, but the story for those factions did interest me and kept me playing them. However, that was not the case for the main story. For me personally, here's a quick recap of the main story. There's not going to be any major spoilers, okay? Oh god, the overall plot of this game is that you basically died. Your character, whoever you choose, died basically, and you were brought back by a mystical thing called the Well of Souls. And basically you have no fate in a world that is riddled and run by fate basically. And your whole job is to figure out what's going on, how you died, and to stop an army of immortals. And due to the fact that you're a person without fate, you have the ability to change fate and of course kill immortals, but for good. Actually kill them. They won't come back after you kill them. And this also adds to the ability called Reckoning Mode, which basically makes you a fucking tank and you're not invincible. In some cases you do get damaged, but you're freaking a powerhouse. You kill everything within 3 or 4 hits most of the time, which does take away a little bit from the boss battles. And that is the overall plot. You're just trying to figure out what the hell is going on, how you died, and how can you save the war. Stop the war, sorry. And that is basically the plot, and in some cases during the plot it is really interesting. It really does it very well. In other cases, it drags on. For the first part of the game, I'd say maybe the first 5 hours for me were really interesting. I was really into the story. But then the middle part was really dull and boring, and I was just going, where can I go now? And I ended up doing a shit ton of side missions. And by the way, there's a lot of collecting missions in this game. I personally don't mind them, but if you personally hate collecting missions, like go and get 5 of these things, come back and then go get another 5, avoid a lot of towns. But the middle part of the story was really dull and bland, and then you go into another, the final act, the final few hours for me were quite interesting, but unfortunately in some cases even then it kind of dragged on. It was still pretty dull in some cases. I ended up skipping a good chunk of the dialogue with some characters due to the fact that in some cases the voice acting is very bad, in other cases it's very well done. Oh, and I have one other major gripe. If you're going to put a Scottish accent or an Irish accent in a fucking game, make them fucking believable. I'm sorry, there are only maybe a handful of Irish or Scottish accents in here that I actually believe. The rest of them were fucking horrible. That is another gripe I have. So fuck you, big huge games. Get a right, if you're going to get a Scottish freaking accent in this, get a Scottish fucking voice actor. Oh, that's a major gripe I have. I'm sorry, I fucking hate that. So yeah, let's get back to where we are. Oh, so many bad memories of bad voice acting. But the voice acting isn't completely horrible. It's just dull, bland, and very obvious that the person's acting. There's very little emotion in some cases. But it's just the story in some cases was really dull, really bland, and very repetitive. And I honestly had struggled to beat the main story. I'll say that right now. And I will say one thing, there are 2 interesting story boss battles that I did enjoy. A middle one and the end boss. I'm not going to tell you what they are, don't want to spoil for anyone, but they are quite interesting boss battles. Although I will say one thing, the final boss battle is a piece of fucking piss. I literally beat the final boss in less than 10 minutes. I am not kidding you, I beat the boss in 10 minutes. The final boss, I'm sorry, it has to be very difficult. This boss battle was a piece of fucking piss and I killed it in 10 minutes. It's unforgivable. I'm sorry, if you're going to have a big boss battle, make sure it's epic and difficult but rewarding, but not too difficult. So, as it says, and also another gripe I have, it does kind of end on a cliffhanger-ish ending. Not a major cliffhanger, like not, oh my god, what happens next, what happens next, the end. Not like that. It does have a definitive ending for the story of the game, but it does kind of hint that basically, oh guess what, we're going to release another game. We're going to release more DLC. It kind of hints at that. And even though it's not as bad as other endings that pissed me off, like Dragon Age 2's ending. That ending in particular, even though I don't hate it as much as other people do, I still kind of hate it. So, the story was the worst part for me. It just dragged on in some cases, and some parts it was really entertaining, and other parts it was... Yeah, so I honestly didn't feel compelled to play the game after one playthrough again. For me personally, there isn't that much replayability in this game. For the Kingdoms of Amalur, there is some replayability for some people, but for me personally, once you beat the main story and all the faction quests, there's kind of very little to replay. There are a lot of side quests, I'll say that right now, and if you're a completionist, you're going to do all of them, but I personally don't want to do a lot of these fucking side missions because a lot of them are the same fucking shit over and over again, and it really pisses me off. They could have added so many other ones. There are some interesting side missions as well that end up being, oh my god, shut up. And it's just, there isn't a lot of replayability for me personally. I will not be doing another playthrough of this game anytime soon. Maybe in the months to come when I'm absolutely bored at my skull, maybe, but it's just the story that drags it down for me, and I honestly don't see a lot of replayability in it. It is said that there is up to 200 hours of gameplay in that game. I honestly can't see that. At most you'll get 30 to 40, 50 at a stretch if you do quite a lot of side missions through a one-run non-completionist style playthrough. 30 to 50 hours if you don't do all the side missions. The main story will take you about 25, 35 hours to complete, depending on how fast you're good at these games. So, is Kingdoms of Amalur, I'm just going to answer the question right now, is Kingdoms of Amalur worth your money? Yes. I may have said a lot of negative stuff about this game, but for value for money, the Kingdoms of Amalur is an absolutely brilliant game. It's not perfect, it's not amazing, it's brilliant, but not that brilliant. If I had to score it, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's not a bad game, it's not an amazing game, it's a great game. And it is worth your money. You will get your money's worth out of this game if you like RPGs. But it is more altered at action than RPG. There are a lot of RPG elements, but as it says, the story kind of has a linear path to it, and even though there's a lot to explore, there is kind of very few choices in this game, and there's not many ones that made me go, I don't know what to do. There was quite definitive points where you had to do. So, a 7.5 is nothing to be ashamed of. I say the game is worth your money, but as I say, there's no rush to go and get it. It isn't, in my opinion, a must buy. It's a game that if you can afford it, get it. If not, I'd say probably wait for it to go down in price. It's a 7.5 for me. I didn't think I wasted my money on it. I think it is worth the money, but only if you are willing to, if you're not looking for a game with a very deep, in-depth story. The story for me was just dull, repetitive, and in some cases insulting. But the universe, Ari Salvatore, brilliantly done, and I'd say play the game just for the universe and the lore alone. So I think that's all I can say about the Kingdoms of Amalur. Let me know what you thought of the game if you got it, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Hopefully I haven't insulted anyone, because I didn't give it like a perfect score like a lot of these sites have been doing, but I'm an honest reviewer. I'm giving you my honest opinion and telling you whether or not this is worth the £42.99 price tag. It was £43 for me, So I got my money's worth out of it, and in my opinion it is worth the money if you're willing to pay for it, but it is not a must-buy game. You can bypass it and get it maybe a month later at a cheaper price. It's not a must-buy game. It's a game that if you can get it, but if there's other games you want to get, on you go. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know what you thought of it down below in the comment section down below. If you have any questions or video requests, please don't hesitate to put them down in the comments as well, or contact me at ScottishW92, that's my Twitter account, and also my Facebook fan page, which is linked in the description. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all later. Ciao for now. Ciao! Mwah.
Warrior! Showtime!